All right, we're back at Comedy Off Broadway. It is Crossroads Comedy Project. I'm one of your hosts, Josh Sardam.
No, I'm Shalash.
And today we have our first repeat celeb coming in doing
Oh,
our
my
show.
goodness.
You are.
I don't know if that says more about me or more about you guys.
I'll take either one, actually.
Is everybody else one and done?
No, I mean, they haven't
Like
been
basketball
back yet.
players?
I mean, they just haven't been back.
They just haven't been back. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Well,
Since we
usually we trick the comedians to come on our show, but you're the
I
first
know.
one we've tricked twice to actually come back.
I
So have no
know, I
idea.
know. And I don't see any Reese's Cups or Big Macs, so
Exactly.
you've tricked me.
Yes, we have.
So if you haven't figured it out yet, it's Etta May we have back on our show, and we're absolutely thrilled to have you back.
I appreciate it. You guys are fun. You guys are fun. It's always fun talking to comics.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
You know, people come in and they sit in a show and they laugh. Mm-hmm. But they don't know what we're looking at. They don't know what we see and how we feel inside.
Right.
And how terrifying it still is.
Sure. I think if it stops scaring you one day, I think there's something wrong. Like, you've probably lost your passion if it stops scaring you, I think.
Yeah. And I don't know if I told you this story.
Okay.
But there is a moment that because we all are open micers.
Right.
You know, we've all done that Pizza Hut gig where it's like
Right.
they had a Radio Shack mic and it's like, hey, let's have comedy night, in the back banquet room. Yeah. And well, hell, I forgot what I was going to say. But no, we've all done those. We've all done those hail gigs.
Right.
But that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
And the day it switched over for me, and I tell people that are starting out comedy, do it 100 times before you give up, because this is not a natural thing to do.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And your first time up there on stage, your body will tell you this is not natural to do. You know what I mean? To stand in front of a bunch of strangers and try to make them laugh.
Yeah.
Because it's not like laughing with your relatives, because there's no inside jokes. You can't do, an imitation of your crazy uncle. Nobody's going to get it.
Right.
So give it 100 times before you give up on yourself. I mean, the first 20 times, you're just trying to hold your bowel movement together. You know what I mean? Am I right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And trying not to, I used to throw up before shows and everything.
It takes guts. It
3
takes a lot.
minutes, and I would throw up. I took more time throwing up than I was actually on stage. But the day it changed for me, I'm backstage, and I'm a visual person. And every time I'd hear my introduction, I'd close my eyes and I'd think of a bull rider. And I was a bull rider. And you know how bull riders get real intense and they got to get that grip just right, and then they push their hat down and they tilt their head and that gate opens and that bull comes shooting out, and that guy's got to hold on for 8 seconds.
Right.
And that's how I felt. I felt like I was a bull rider.
It's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got to hang on, And one day, and I don't know where I was, but one day I'm closing my eyes and I can hear my intro, and suddenly I was the bull.
Oh, very nice.
And it's like, no, you hang on for 8 seconds.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like
the
that.
audience, you guys, because I'm prepared to bring it.
Yeah.
And you got to get to a point of confidence in your material.
Yeah.
And what you've written.
Absolutely.
And even a material ain't going to hit
All the
but
time.
70% of the time.
Yeah, it's a numbers game, definitely.
It really is.
Yeah.
One night I get a standing ovation. And I've had people come up to me and go, or wait staff or stuff like that, and say, oh my goodness, you got a standing ovation. Mm-hmm. And I go, well, but the night before that I didn't.
Yeah.
And it was the same material. So what do I get to believe?
Right.
What do I get to put in my ego?
Right.
What do I get to let go to my head?
And there comes a point where you have to have that 1,000 deaths on stage before you stop worrying so much every night about the reaction, where you're looking at a collective amount of stuff coming in. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember this. I've had shows where I'm thinking, I suck. But that's because I'm comparing it to something else.
Sure.
And then I'll walk off stage and I'll sell just as many T-shirts and CDs and take just as many pictures with people and stuff like that, and get just as many attaboys, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, were you guys in the same show I was? Because, you know, and it was like, you were so funny, and you just want to say, you know what? Next time, tell your face that.
Right.
You know?
Right. You're right.
I'm up there sweating bullets, thinking I'm,
Just
you know.
like bombing.
So do you focus on this on the crowd, on their facial expressions when you're telling these jokes?
I do.
Okay.
I do. But I also have learned that it's a collective.
Okay.
That it's the crowd mentality.
Yeah.
And scientifically, this has been done with comedy clubs, but it's also been done in real life. The crowd collective is, there is a woman was murdered, was stabbed to death on the streets of New York in the 70s. And this is a psychological study. And over like 100 people watched her be stabbed to death.
Jeez.
And did nothing.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that 100 that watched it, if just one had made a move, do you know what I mean?
They all would have probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they all would have.
Right.
But psychologically,
Right.
it's a weird dynamic. It's a very strange dynamic.
But I mean, that's why most comedy clubs are very like intimate and close, because
Yes.
the closer the laughter is together, the more it'll spread.
Right. It's
Yeah.
contagious.
Right.
And I always think it's funny when people go to a comedy club and be, well, we're on top of each other. But it's like, I need the person's energy next to you to filtrate through your body.
Yeah.
And get to your funny bone, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely.
It's a partnership.
Yeah.
People always say to me, I'll be in the, waiting to go up on stage, and an audience member will say, have a good show. And I go,
No.
that's pretty much up to you.
Yeah. Right.
And they tilt their head like, what the heck's that mean? I go, hey,
Right.
But I've been
You
doing
know,
this a long time.
I've
I
been
know I'm
doing-
funny.
hey, I know what works. And, and the way you can tell this the most is if I do a lot of corporate.
Right.
And there's only 2 shows you're going to have at corporate. Standing ovation or you suck. That's it. There's only 2 ways it's going to go. That's why all the comedians out there, if you're doing a corporate show, get the check before you go on stage. Because you don't want to have to face the guy that hired you. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because he may have just lost his job.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why you always told me, you said, no, don't say break a leg, say don't suck.
Yeah. We ain't on Broadway.
Right.
We're not the Rockettes.
Right.
This is not a break a leg situation. This is a don't suck situation. You know what I mean? And we are going for don't suck. And I don't know if last time I talked about the pegboard.
No, I don't think you did.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, when I'm older than you guys, but in our gym in junior high or in high school, there was a pegboard, and you get these wooden pegs, and you tested your strength, and you walked up this board if you were strong enough, you
Right.
know. And what I say to new comics is, don't forget to take that peg out and put it right back at the bottom. Because don't think you're going to start on the 3rd, 4th rung.
Oh, no doubt.
Oh, no. Because you're going to be sorely disappointed.
Right.
And I've stopped fighting it.
Yeah.
I'm going to let them have the show they choose to have.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that because and a lot of comics don't understand that. Comics think they're so powerful, but we've gotten really very little to do with the dynamic of a good time or not.
Well, because I mean, your material's funny regardless. If they're going to titter at it, if they're going to laugh really hard, or if they're just going to stare at you, having a good time. But the material is funny, so it's not about the material. It's about, like you said, the crowd and how they're going to react to it.
Well, that applies to a seasoned comedian, obviously.
Obviously, yes.
Yeah, so we see some of these open micers that
Yeah.
come up there, and their material's just bad, and they just don't get what's going on.
Right. But to be fair to an open micer, are they getting seen by a real audience?
Yeah,
or are they being
Probably
seen
not.
by a bunch of comedians that, one, are terrified and they're just trying to remember their own act when it's their turn to get in the chute.
Right.
And
that analogy.
two, they don't want you to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't want you to do well,
Yeah, they're
which is
Or-
bad because when I came up, we weren't like that.
right. Well, there's a bunch of us here in town that always back each other up no matter what. 'Cause
Yeah.
we're all trying to push each other to make it.
Yes, and if you can find your cubby,
Yeah.
and it really is, find your cubby, and find your team of people, and especially because you cannot write in a vacuum.
No, you can't.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need another comedian. Like I can't ask my husband, is this funny?
Right.
Because he don't get it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But a comic will get it.
Right.
Or a comic will go, you need to tweak, or something's missing, or you
Yeah.
can't find it, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, also in other things, I find that when I come to a comedy club, the people there expecting to laugh, and I kind of go and do a show at, like you were saying, like a Pizza Hut or something.
Right.
Not everyone there is probably there for comedy.
They
Maybe
might not have known there was comedy that
Yeah,
Right.
night.
sometimes that happens a lot. you
Right.
know?
Yeah, you're ambushing them.
That's like I go to a restaurant and, oh my God, it's karaoke night. Well,
Right.
I just wanted a salad.
Right.
I don't want to hear somebody butcher Celine Dion. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the hard part. And so there's several different shows. There's the shows where people actually have come to see you.
Right.
Then there's the shows that are the wanderers, the people that didn't expect
Right.
that in their evening a comedy show would break out.
Yeah.
And then there are the people at your conventions and stuff like that, corporate conventions, are they really there to shake hands and buddy up with the boss and pass out the business cards and stuff like that. And that's a show that's forced upon them.
Right.
But don't they know there's comedy going to be there?
Yes.
If they read the itinerary.
If they read the itinerary, but they did not come to see you, and you are probably, and especially me, I'm probably not your cup of tea.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean? There's nothing I can do about that.
Right.
And people are so stupid that hire comedians,
Yeah.
and they think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people will go, I want to hire you to come do comedy at our wedding reception.
Jesus.
It's a nightmare
No.
right there.
You really get that?
I have, and it's like, no, people just want to do the chicken dance.
Right.
Do the hokey pokey, eat the cake, let them go home. First off, they didn't want to come to your damn wedding in the first place, okay? It's Saturday. They could be fishing.
That's true.
But oh no, they had to get dressed up in a monkey suit because you're in love. Do you know what I mean? Why don't people realize nobody cares that you're in love and that
Right.
you're happy?
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely don't care that you're happy.
No, nobody cares you're happy. And what are you looking at? Did you have a big wedding?
I had a ginormous wedding and a ginormous divorce.
So there you go. And I say on stage, and it's not a joke to me, but people take it funny. I'll talk, and if somebody's getting married, and I say big wedding, small wedding,
Yeah.
and they'll say, oh, I got 4 bridesmaids and stuff like that. And I said, dang it, don't do that. That, save the money for the divorce.
Sure.
Yeah, I had 500 people in my wedding.
500 people.
500 people.
In the wedding.
No, not in the wedding, at the wedding.
At the wedding.
Jesus, I
Yeah,
was gonna say,
at the wedding.
What are you, a prince?
Yeah, really.
My God. He's got hundreds of cousins
I have
here in
hundred
town.
cousins that live just in
Yeah.
Kentucky. Many that I have no idea where they live or who they are.
Man, how many toasters did you get?
Toasters, we don't register. You give me money. We get cash. That's what we do in our culture.
Palestinians.
Yeah.
Oh, you're Palestinian?
Oh, yeah.
No, same with the Italians.
Yeah.
true.
It's
Very
the do you do the dollar dance, the pin money on the woman's
Train.
dress?
I've seen that before. I didn't do it on my wedding.
Oh.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Italian wedding.
Yeah, tiny wins. And the
Yeah.
food's amazing, too.
Oh,
Food's
yeah.
amazing. I
Yeah.
tell you what,
Sorry.
and this is no joke. If I don't feel like cooking on Sunday, but I want my family to have a nice meal,
Sure.
I just look at the obituaries and time it out. You know what I mean?
Do you crash them?
and let me give you some advice, because there's going to be a reception at the house later, so just follow the cars as they leave. I'm hanging out at funeral homes waiting for the form to come out.
That is singularly the most brilliant thing I've
It's
ever
the most
heard.
brilliant thing. And if you bring like your own Tupperware, I got my funeral purse, people. I got my funeral purse. Now, let me give you some advice. If especially for starving comics, this is a great way to survive. If you're a starving comic, or anybody in America if you see Presbyterian, just skip that funeral.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You want an Italian
Right.
funeral.
It's got to be a cathedral. It's got to be Catholic.
Well, no, and this is why. And one, the food's going to be great.
Yeah.
But two, at an Italian funeral, it's an open bar.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean? Presbyterians, you might as well go eat at the hospital
Yeah.
cafeteria.
Yeah.
It's like, do you know what salt and pepper are, people? Let alone garlic.
So when is your coffee table book coming out on how to crash funerals?
I swear I was just thinking how many books you could just write.
Call it the Starving Comics Guide.
I really should write a book, because I can't tell you how many breakfasts I've eaten for free at hotels.
Oh, yeah.
If I ever become homeless,
Yeah.
I know how to survive.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? If you just walk in acting like you know what you're doing, people really don't question you.
I've
Right.
said that before on a trip.
Yeah.
Because you go to those breakfast bars and
Yeah.
no one's checking if you're staying at the hotel.
No.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares if you're eating waffles or whatever.
However, I have made a collection of keys in case things get bad.
Folks, that's chapter 4.
So far, we've written 3 chapters
Yeah,
of this book so far.
right. Right. Start collecting card keys right now.
See, I would never have thought of that, but now she's got me thinking.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
usually just leave them in the room, but
Yeah.
now start taking them with me.
The comics guide to homelessness is what it should be.
That's awesome. Oh, and as a Jew, I could say I'm probably going to do that just as a normal thing anyway.
Anyway, why not? Why not?
So
Right.
you leave your house. Your wife's going to be like, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to go eat breakfast.
I'm going to go
Yeah.
to breakfast,
And people don't just die on Sunday. It's all through the week.
That's
you
true.
can hit.
That's true. That's not a bad idea.
Here's something funny. My best friend grew up here, went to college here, so she knows everybody. And we can't go anywhere, restaurant, hang out at a movie or something like that without somebody running into her.
Right.
And we were going to dinner, and I'm trying not to make this local because other people outside of Lexington, Kentucky,
Right.
listen.
Oh, of course,
So
of course.
anyway, we're heading to a restaurant, and at this particular restaurant, you have to pass one of the biggest funeral homes in in town. And I always found she would start rubbernecking, looking in the parking lot, see if she recognized cars.
Right.
And I said, what are you doing? And she goes, well, I may know that in people. Or, they may be people I know or kin or something like that. She goes, you know what nursing or funeral homes need to have nowadays is they need to have a marquee.
Yeah.
Now showing Bobby Johnson.
Now showing.
It's like, but then I laughed and then I thought, that's a good idea.
It's actually a good
really,
idea.
especially for small towns,
Right.
because newspapers don't come out. You
Right.
know, what I mean.
Yeah.
And but on that marquee on my angle, I want the religion
Yeah.
and the ethnicity. Because who knows? Maybe I want Mediterranean some night.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's a good idea.
Because they always serve hummus.
Muhammad Allah died, and
Oh no, they're huge. Anytime there's a service afterwards, it's
oh yeah.
like all the women in the family cook these ginormous meals, and then
Yes.
tables full of stuff, and it's buffet style too. You
Yeah,
just go and
yeah,
eat.
and that's why you take your
And-
Tupperware.
and there's people in there I have never seen in my life.
And
Shaking you, saying,
Yeah.
"I'm really sorry for your loss," and who knows? They could have been taking, chapter 4 from your book.
Right.
So, no, there you go.
It's funny. Nobody will question you.
No.
No, nobody questions
Yeah,
you.
because you're there, and they're like, "Oh, what a nice
And
guy."
they don't
or
wanna be
gal to
embarrassed,
there.
you
Right.
know.
They're not gonna
Like-
say,
like,
"Well,
how
who
do I
are
know
you?"
you?
Yeah.
They're like, well, he's nice. He showed up to, say his, condolences.
So we'll let them eat. We'll
So
let
let
them
him
eat.
eat.
Yeah. I don't crash weddings.
No, I think that's kind of tacky. But as a kid, I did, though.
I would love to crash wedding.
Really?
I did, because there was a huge banquet hall down the street from where I lived, and like every weekend we would go camping in the woods, and as we were passing through, there'd be a banquet. We'd go in as 13-year-old kids taking wine and whatever else we could pilfer into our backpacks and out into the forest.
Okay, this might be the first podcast that 3 people get arrested.
I think the statute of limitations are up.
Yeah, it's got to be up. It's got to
by
be
now.
up.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind crashing a wedding, though. I think that would be fun. I don't know.
Again, it'd have to be an Italian one. I mean,
The Italian wedding would be a lot of
yeah,
fun.
it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So you gave me some good, some amazing news. Actually, you're going to be doing Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s birthday party soon, right?
Yes.
That is awesome. How did that come about?
I
Like,
don't know.
that
I
is
do
so
not
cool.
know, but that is cool.
That is
Where's
really
that
That
gonna
is
be
cool. That's going to be in North Carolina. I guess he's got a ranch or
Yeah.
something. And there's this big giant party. And
I mean, that's your wheel well right there. That's your people.
that's my target market.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They know what to expect.
That is my target market.
That's going to be
You know.
amazing for you. I'm happy for you. I think
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I'm not a selfie taker, but I'm gonna be taking some selfies,
Sure.
people.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Do you think
absolutely.
that I would stick out if I was to crash that?
Yeah, I wouldn't show. I wouldn't show because there's always a NASCAR person with a rope in the truck. So
Yeah.
don't
If they
be
just
showing.
had a rope, I'd be okay.
Yeah.
They don't more
Yeah.
than just a rope.
Yeah.
And he's always carrying a backpack, so it's kind of scary.
Oh
I
man.
do.
Oh
Gotta stay
man.
protected. You never
Welcome.
know.
Why are you living here?
I ask myself that every day.
From here, that's the funny thing.
Yeah, that's funny.
Now,
'cause-
have you in this time of have you felt any change
change.
in how people treat you?
Honestly, living in Kentucky, living in Lexington, I really haven't. After 9/11, there was a change.
Really?
After 9/11, there was a change, or a little bit of a resistance. That lasted about 3 or 4 years. But after that, it's like they see me, and I could tell people are a little intimidated. And then they hear me talk, and they're like, "This dude has no accent."
Yeah.
Right.
Like he acts normal.
He's not saying, my name is Habib.
Yeah, I'm not talking like that. And even my white friends, they say, "You're more white than I am," and that's
Yeah.
true. I'm just very Americanized at this point, So I think people sense that, and they don't. I don't know. They're not intimidated anymore. But when they just see me walking around with that
Right.
beard, yeah, I get
Well,
the looks.
I'm gonna tell you this. I do cruises,
Yeah.
and I just flown back. I done a cruise, and I got off in Aruba, and I just flew back, and there was this real cheap. As I'm heading towards the taxis, and I'm going through all the T-shirt shops, there was a real cheap hat, and it was cool, and it said Aruba on it. So 2 days later, I had to be in Mississippi, and I'm driving down this highway, 2-lane highway, and I'm having to do a show at a hospital, and in the woods, way up on the side of the mountain, there is a giant flagpole with the biggest Confederate flag I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, this was huge. This was the biggest flag I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, okay, well, all right. And so 2-lane highway, I'm in the boonies, and I stop at this gas station. Now, I've got my hat on, my Aruba hat on. And this man is walking out of, I get my gas, and I start to go to the bathroom. And he walks out, and he says, and I've got glasses on, sunglasses on, and he says, M.A.F. stinking Arabs. And I'm thinking, what a dummy this guy is. The people that own this gas station, this little gas station, is probably Indian.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And he thinks they're Arab. That's how ignorant he is.
Right.
That's how stupid he is. But he said it right to and loud. MF.
Yeah.
And I'm not thinking, and I walk in, and I'm thinking I'm going to see, Indian people, and 2 giant black women behind the counter. Just, hey, how are you? Bathroom's back that way. So I go in the bathroom, and the stall's busy, and I'm leaning up against the wall, just kind of waiting, and I glance up in the mirror at myself. Now, I'm Italian heritage,
Right.
and I have just come from the Caribbean, so
you're dark.
I am dark, and I've got these dark sunglasses on, and
So he said that to you.
he said it to me because I look at my reflection, and it looked like backwards it said Arab,
Oh, I see.
but it was Aruba. But he wasn't looking at me backwards.
So he was a dyslexic racist.
Racist.
I've never in my life seen an Arab wear a hat that would say Arab
Arab
on
on
it.
it.
Why
Yes,
would you mark
yes,
yourself?
Yes.
Makes no sense.
Yeah. But I tell you what, I don't wear that hat
Yeah.
in certain places.
Yeah.
In certain places, I do not wear that hat.
No, I completely understand. If I'm ever in Eastern Kentucky, I get a little bit nervous. It's a little bit different.
Because there's still towns out there where they're
Oh,
like,
oh, yeah.
you better
I
not
mean,
be here after dark type towns.
My sister has a medical practice in Winchester, and she still gets crap all the time.
Really?
Patients will come. They find out she's Arab. They don't come back. I mean, hey. But she's loved by 70-80% of the city, but there's still going to be a few of those closed-minded people.
Right.
So,
Right.
hey, it is what it is, and you move on, and
It's just
you feel sorry for them, and you
Yeah.
live your life.
Yeah.
It's ignorance you can't fight.
We've learned not to, we at least in Kentucky, and I know there hasn't been any a lot of violence against Arabs, at least that I know of, and so it's nothing we really
No.
worry about. I don't
Yeah.
worry about my safety, and
But the thing is, like Lexington, we have a lot of colleges,
Right.
so there are a lot of foreign students here.
Yeah,
going to
absolutely.
the
It is.
colleges, and I appreciate the food, the different types of food you can get here in Lexington and
Oh,
stuff like
absolutely.
that. And you know what? If I could speak for my people,
Which you can.
a lot of people truly are not racist.
yeah,
They don't hate you because they personally hate you. They hate you because they've just never met you, or
Yeah.
it's racism by
Ignorance.
by just not knowing,
Yeah.
just never having any contact
yeah.
with people, and I don't know if that's a different kind of racist.
No, that's
Are there
absolutely
different
true.
degrees of racism?
It's hatred either way, but it's like, they don't have any
But they were-
context.
But they were
Right.
they were
Yeah.
taught to hate you without even having a reason.
Yeah.
Basically, And I have a joke kind of similar to that where I say, hey, I'm friendly air, feel free to come and talk to me. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna, I'm not gonna kill you. Maybe, I don't know. And I make those jokes, but
Mm-hmm.
the truth of that is I notice a lot of people, they kind of stare at you.
But let
know?
me tell you something. There's prejudice against rednecks.
Oh yeah.
There's prejudice
course.
against
Jews.
white trash.
I get-
Yeah.
And how would you like to be looked down upon?
No, I have.
And especially, I travel all over the world, and I open my mouth, and I've just lost some IQ points. I'm telling you, what I
Wow,
mean? I'm
right.
down in the 80s.
Yeah.
And so, racism is non-descriptive. It flows both ways.
It sure does. It sure does. And a lot of times, the people that are complaining about racism are pretty racist themselves. I've found quite a bit of people like that. Speaking of people complaining about things, you had one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I think it was last Saturday night. It was a week ago.
Yes.
We had a woman leave the showroom, and the reason why she was mad, she took her all 4 seats, and they were right up on the stage. They left because she was making fun of skinny women. Look at his face.
What?
I was
saying.
That makes no
Yeah.
sense.
Now, I want the listeners out there to realize I'm a fat
Yes.
white trash Southerner covered in polyester.
Yes, absolutely. true.
Okay, and I've picked on everybody.
Everybody.
In my show, I pick on every
You
race.
start out making fun of yourself.
I start out making fun of myself, and then it's open season.
That's
Because
right.
you guys are gonna laugh at me. Well, then, and I do like a lot of different accents and people, different characters in my act, and so I'm really bashing on everybody. We're all in the same mosh pit. And this woman, but they were drunk. They were like drunk.
But she was outside yelling.
Was she
like,
abnormally skinny?
No.
No.
She was a skinny girl. She wasn't bad looking or anything.
And I
Just-
wasn't picking on her.
No, she wasn't.
I was picking on another little girl who was having a great time
Right.
with her friends.
I just never understood why people come, and they know why they're coming.
Right.
And more likely, they've come to see you because, you're selling out.
Yeah.
What in the world are you expecting?
And she was out by
And
the
you're
duck
not-
pond screaming, "She can't make fun of skinny people." It's
comedy.
Me and this guy Tony that work here, we're dying laughing. I'm like, I cannot wait to tell Etta May this. This is great.
But that it was as if I called a little person a midget or something.
Right.
It was something like that. But it
still-
wasn't. It was
No.
just a thin woman, and it was.
It was like you were getting. She was getting mad because she was making fun of that she looked healthy.
Yes.
She probably looked a lot better than we do at this moment.
Right.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
just saying,
yeah.
it's like you have no place getting mad. It's just ridiculous what people get mad at. And it's funny because, and I'm sure in your 30 years doing comedy, when you think, I've seen it all, then something like
Yeah.
that happens and you're like, my God.
No.
Well, that goes against. She chose to be offended by something so silly.
Ridiculous.
She chose to ruin her
and
own
she's
night.
right. She was drunk. And
She was
think-
drunk, and I had to tell their table to shut up.
Yeah.
And then they had to leave early, and maybe I pushed it a little too far because
I don't
as they got up to leave, I had the whole audience go, no, 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 no. Hey. We did 2 verses, didn't we? Didn't we, John?
Awesome.
So that could have set her off.
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
But I guarantee you have, 250 other people who
They were
probably had a
dying
time of their
laughing.
Right.
life.
Dying
I've been,
laughing.
Oh, well.
Look, I've been known to dig a hole and keep digging. You know what I mean?
And that's why you've been doing this for 30 years.
And that's why I've been
Right.
doing it for 30 years.
That's right.
Yeah.
You got a ton of social media you're pushing out. Now, do you want to plug anything that you're doing on social media? I know that if people subscribe, they get a
Yes.
special video.
They get a special video
Right.
if they go to my website, which is ettamay.com, ETTAMAY, like the month.com, and they can subscribe, and they get a little number, and they put that in, and it shows a special video and
Yeah.
me being goofy. Also, I have Etta May Comedy. which is my Facebook, and Etta May Comic, which is my YouTube, and I'm doing a lot of, this is a learning curve for me.
Sure.
You know, and I finally got somebody to really help me.
Yeah.
And teach me how to do this stuff.
I'd say
But
it's working.
what I've realized, it's really kind of cool because I can really connect with my Facebook friends.
Yeah.
Or the people that like me.
Yeah.
And they're amazed that I talk back to them.
Yeah.
I think, you know, they'll say something and then I'll say, "Hey Sean, we had a great time," and and they're like, is this really you?" It's like, yeah, it's really me. I'm just as bored as you are on this snowy Saturday, so I'm just looking at my Facebook like everybody else is.
I just think it's amazing though, because it's almost like you've just rejuvenated everything. Because you have sold more tickets this past 2 weeks than I've seen you do in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's like I see new fans. I mean, people were showing up dressed up like you.
Yes.
I mean, that was really cool.
Yes, it's really. I think I've clicked into something.
Yeah.
Hopefully, and because here's what the trend is. There's these YouTubers out there. They got 1 million YouTubes.
Right.
And they're doing something stupid or doing their comedy. So they'll come in. They're like I look at them as little roaches.
Yeah.
Because they'll come in and they'll get booked into a comedy club.
That's how we look at it too.
And they will sell out the place.
Right.
Right.
But they ain't got no act.
No, they
No,
don't.
they're just social media stars.
They're
You're
just
right.
social media stars.
Right. annoying.
I've seen that.
And it is annoying.
Yeah.
And then these people wonder why it's a bad show. And it's
Right.
like, because that person, their whole bit is just talking into the camera.
Right.
Yeah.
And they can stop it and re-edit it and
Right,
go back and forth
right.
and keep doing it till it comes out perfect.
And comedy is an art form.
Absolutely.
I mean, just like singing, and in fact, it's the hardest art form.
Absolutely. We were just talking about that last night. It's the ego's last stand.
I tell you what, the day I realized, wow, I never felt special in my life. I really didn't.
Yeah.
I never felt special. And I was looking or searching for something. And then when I realized, oh, I'm funny and I can make people laugh, that's when I went, okay, now I found something that makes me feel good about me.
Yeah.
And makes me feel special. And it doesn't make me a special person, but it just makes me feel good inside.
Yeah.
To share laughter with people. But it is, I heard an interview with Meryl Streep, and she was asked, what occupation would you never want to try? And she said, stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
She goes, I think that's the most terrifying thing. Now, this is a woman that can do everything.
Right.
There's
right.
nothing Meryl Streep can't do.
I mean, she's done it all.
She's done it all.
Yeah.
But her biggest fear was to do stand-up.
You can't hide behind a character in stand-up. You can't.
You
It's
can't.
you.
It's just you,
Yeah.
and you can freak yourself out. Because, like,
oh, yeah.
we're sold out tonight, and
Yep,
we'll
both
we'll
shows.
have, what, 250, 260 people?
Be 260 per show.
Now,
yeah.
times that times 2 eyes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they're all looking at you.
Right. And you don't have somebody writing your script for you. It's all what you came up
And
with.
all what you
It's
came
all
up
personal.
with. Yes.
Yep.
So you live and die by yourself.
That's it.
You
And
know?
you don't have an opening act or a feature, so you're up there.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's her and
just,
Scott duking it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
that's
me and
crazy.
Scott just pounding it out.
So you're up there
But-
for over an hour.
But
And she does.
yeah, I do an hour 20.
Yeah. a little over an
yeah.
hour. Yeah.
That's a lot of
Yeah.
pressure.
All by herself on
That's
that
a lot of
stage.
pressure. Yeah.
But my type of comedy is storytelling.
Right.
So I think that's kind of easier. If I was just doing joke,
Right.
you know, that you got to have a lot of jokes if you're just a
course.
joke
Well,
style.
I tell you what I told you this the other day. Just because I've seen your act multiple times, I'm no longer just listening to what you're saying. Now I'm just watching you, and I'm like looking at your callbacks and your premises and how you're layering them. Some of your stuff, like especially the stuff that you've been telling for a little while now, is so. To me, it's amazing how layered it is. It's so intricate, and then it's just like you hit your main punchline, it gets a huge laugh, and you've got callback, and it keeps going. And I sit here and look at my material, and I'm like, God, I suck.
but baby, give yourself 30 years,
Right,
and then call me.
Sure.
But I'll be dead. Okay, hopefully I'll be dead.
And I will be at her, funeral. and eating away.
She's Italian descent.
Yeah, and they'll just think you're another Italian.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Another
all I'm
Dago
gonna do.
walked in.
That's it. Just
Bars to your right.
Just say you're Sicilian.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
No, what's neat to me is to be in a position now as I do my comedy is that to be so relaxed
Yeah.
that I get to enjoy the show with the people.
Right.
And that takes a long time
Yeah.
to get to.
Oh, I bet.
And I watch people laugh. I find myself watching people,
Yeah.
and and that's become a joy for me. So here's the thing: not only have I stepped up my media, but I also wrote a new show.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I've got a brand new CD that's out.
Nice.
And I worked on all that material last year.
Yeah.
And now it's smooth as silk.
Yeah.
Because you find what to drop, you find what to add, you find what to do. First you have to write the joke. Then you have to figure out how to tell the joke. And then you have to figure out how to show the joke.
Right.
And then you've got it. And you're always finding little bitty things.
Fine tuning here and there.
And that's the fallback for open micers.
Yeah.
Because it's, like I'm a marathon runner. I'm going to have a lot of stage time.
Right.
You guys are little sprinters, and you just get to run to first, and then
Right.
and you're always just running to first, and you never
Right.
get to feel what it's like to round second. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I tell you what, and people have asked me to come to open mics
Yeah.
to watch them or give them advice and stuff, and it physically makes me sick. Not how bad it is, but
You just remember what it felt like.
it's like PTSD.
Yeah.
Is that the right letters?
Yes, it is.
Okay, but it's like I have like these nervous, and I almost want to vomit, and it physically makes me sick because I want to go, oh honey,
Yeah.
and I wish those people could be in front of a real audience
Right.
of people that are not there, with all the other agendas in their head.
Right.
But bottom line is, you got to start somewhere.
That's it.
That's true.
Stage time is stage time in the beginning.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I know this is not comfortable or good, but I learn a lot more from my bad shows than I do from my good shows.
Yeah.
No, of course.
I actually learned because you have to have that 1,000 deaths. So
Yeah.
you have a bad show. There's one. I cross one off. It's like an accomplishment.
Right.
It's like that's one less that I might have in the future.
And that's why I record myself almost every night.
So important.
But with a tiny little recorder that's up on stage.
Yeah.
Not video, but a tiny little recorder. And I'll find a word that killed the joke. And I had a friend that in Los Angeles, my best friend in LA, and she was a comic, and she had a joke that always hit. It was a applause break joke. Then all of a sudden, and the punchline was Snickers.
Right.
Well, you get to doing a joke so long, and then you go do other stuff, and then you come back to the joke, and you do it, and you're like, why is this not getting any reaction? And I realized, watching her one night, is she started saying Snickers bar for some reason. And it was just breaking up that rhythm by saying Snickers bar killed the joke.
Wow.
And when she went back to just saying Snickers,
It works.
it worked again.
Huh.
That's how
Technical it can get.
technical it can get.
And it's funny because, like, Scott and I were talking last night about the words that end in CK or K. Those tend to get greater laughs for whatever psychological reason. So saying Snickers, I mean, you got that K sign in there, so that might have been
But bar weakens it.
Weakened it, yeah.
Weakens the punch. I also have a thing that I call, if you can't top it, stop it.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing something and I've written something, especially new stuff, and it's like, and you were trying to push, get
Trying to
every
get
drop
more
out of a
juice out of
premise,
it,
get
yeah.
every juice out of a premise,
Yeah.
and it's like, at some point you have to say, if you can't top it, stop it, and this doesn't top it.
It's a good saying. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, just stop fighting it. And maybe someday down the road, another idea will pop in your head.
Yeah. It's now, like, how it works with me, like, I'll be doing my set over and over and over again, and, like, I'll just be at home watching TV, all of a sudden something will pop in my head, and I'll go, wait a second, this could bridge these two, or this is a good callback I can do here. And I'm writing furiously on my couch going, yeah, I got to write this down quick. You know how that is. When you think of it, you better write it down.
Yes, write it down.
Because then it'll go, and then you'll be like, it was so good.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And it's terrible because you got it, and especially because I drive a lot.
Right.
And I have to take my recorder when I'm driving, but because it's like, you have a dream,
Yeah.
and then you try to tell somebody the dream, and
Right.
then it gets all weird and
Yeah,
goofy
exactly.
and stuff. If you have a thought, man, and especially with technology today,
Right.
have that little bitty. Just go to Walmart. Mine's just like a little chip. Doesn't even have a tape in it. Just a little bitty tiny sliver of a recorder. And I believe all women should have that now. That little bitty recorder in their pocket, even when you go into the boss's office. Just record the conversation.
No, thank you, Mr. Trump.
Yeah. might just want to just hit record.
Yeah.
And because
Yeah,
you
might
don't
be
know
a
what
little-
kind of dictation he's going to ask you to do. You know what I mean? I guess there is no dictation anymore.
No, there doesn't need to be. Yeah, because they got Dragon software now. You just talk to your computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
You got anything coming up you want to plug?
I will be in Ardmore, Oklahoma next weekend.
Okay.
With the Southern Fried Chicks.
Nice.
We'll be at the Godden Performing Arts Center
Gotcha.
Theater, and then I go to Portugal.
Nice.
Really?
Because them Portuguese love them Arabs,
Them
people,
Arab-slash
them comics
Italians.
from Aruba. No, I get on a cruise ship in Tampa and I sail to Portugal.
Very nice.
And what's scary to me is I get my airline flights. The cruise ship makes airline flights, and I'm on this airline that I've never heard of before.
Okay.
Okay, and I belong to all the programs, Delta, United,
Sure.
and they're sistered, or they couple up with other things. Nobody's coupled. Nobody's partners with this airline.
Oh boy.
So and I even asked the Delta representative. I said, "Are you partnered with this airline?" And they go, "I've never even heard of that airline." And I'm like, "Oh man, I'm gonna be flying with support chickens and support goats and stuff like that out of Portugal."
Pilot's gonna lean back and go,
might
y'all
be
hang,
Yeah.
y'all hang on.
So this might be the last time we see Etta.
And, right, and it doesn't worry me that we'll be over water the entire flight.
Right.
So oh Lord, I just and this is about the only flight I've ever been terrified of.
No.
But
I'm sure you'll be okay.
I'm sure I'll be.
Somebody has to license them. We hope.
So if you happen to die over water, are you still going to have a service? Because,
Just
just need to know. That's all.
Here, you know what? I'll make a list of names of people
okay,
they
there
can
you go.
show,
There we go.
and
There we go.
I'll call my mom, and
works.
and what's neat, this will be the last live recording of my life.
Yes.
Yes.
and
So-
it'll,
yeah,
it'll
so-
go triple platinum.
Yeah, you guys are going to skyrocket.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are going to start the last people that
Interviewed.
Interviewed.
So not only are we going to be full,
Yeah.
we're going to be famous.
There we go.
not really so much.
We'll see.
Almost infamous, not famous.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, we got to wrap this up.
Okay.
And thank you so much for being on our show again. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Time flew. I can't believe how
course.
fast
I
that
know.
went by. Ish, you got anything else?
No, I think that's all.
Etta May, you got anything else?
No, I'm just so happy that you guys are out there and keep doing it, and I'm proud. I'm so proud of you guys.
Thanks.
And Josh,
Thank you.
I taught a class. Don't know where the heck you were.
I don't even.
But Josh took my class, and now I feel like he's my son.
Look at that.
Oh,
And I'm proud as punch every time he gets a win. I put a little feather in my cap too.
No, absolutely. And I appreciate that very much.
All right, man. This is getting too mushy.
yes,
Let's
it's kind of getting weird now. I don't even know how to feel.
somebody tell a fart joke.
Someone,
Okay.
someone tell a skinny joke. No, not
Skinny
here.
joke.
Not here.
Yeah, somebody tell a skinny joke.
All right. Well,
Thanks so much, guys.
you're very welcome. For Etta May and Ish Salash, I'm Josh Sarnum. You guys have a good day.